Alright, so this welcome to another tutorial session. I am going to be talking about the concept of variables in Dart. Okay, so I'm just going to proceed to open my Visual Studio Code. Alright, so my Visual Studio Code is opened. When you open your Visual Studio Code for the first time, it may already open a project that you are currently working on, and to do that you may have to close it by going to File and then you say what, close folder. So for me at the moment I don't have any project that has been opened, so I just have a blank worksheet here. So now first of all we may have to create a new Dart project whereby we can write our Dart codes there. So you can use the shortcut Ctrl Shift and P. When you type Ctrl Shift and P, you have this terminal, this thing that opens here. You start by saying Dart. When you type Dart, you see this option that says Dart new project. So we are going to create a new project. I'll click on it. Now when you click on it, just wait a while and you have all these things that is showing here. We have Barebones web app, console application, Dart package, simple console application. So you just select console application, okay, then this box opens. Now what I advise is that as a learner that you are learning Dart codes, first of all when you are starting this afresh, you can create a folder, okay, and that folder you can name it maybe Dart class, for example, and then the purpose of this folder is going to store all your Dart codes, okay. So you can just have so now you're going to name your project, okay. So I can give it a name like maybe learning Dart, and I said Dart, as I said earlier, Dart is simply a programming language, okay, which we will be using to together with Flutter to build apps. But first of all you have to learn the language to understand a few things about it. So I type here learning Dart, that's the name of my project, and then click on sorry I have to select the folder. Where is it? Dart class, this one. So when I say Dart class, I click select folder, then this is now the name of my application. So I'll say what, learning Dart. Okay, so your project name should be all lowercase. We don't allow capital letters. So the name of our project now is learning Dart. So I'll just finish typing and press enter. Then you may see this pop up, just say tick trust and say yes, I trust the authors. And then you wait a while, you can see something is ongoing here, just allow it. Always make sure that as you are doing this you have internet, because most of the times it needs internet to do its stuff. Alright, so now let me just take you through the interface. You can see something here, the file name learning Dart. So this is your file, this is where you write your codes. Okay, good. Now these codes that you write will be executed, and then what you see the responses down here, okay. Yeah, so let me just take you through a few of this environment here. Now over here is your project files, okay. Now inside the bin, you see this bin folder, you will have the learning Dart. This is the file where you would type all your codes and where your codes will be executed from, okay. Yes, now one thing you have to note is that in computer programming, whatever I write, like all the codes that you write, the computer is going to read them and then execute them. The process of reading starts from what, top to bottom. So it starts reading line by line. Wherever there are codes, it will read them, and then when it reads them, it will execute, okay. Yes, now you can see this void main with a bracket open, bracket close, and then you see list what string and then arguments, and then with the curly braces here and there. This is the opening curly braces and the closing curly braces. So this void main is what we call the entry point. When the computer, when you decide to run this code, the computer will start what executing whatever is in between this bracket curly braces and the closing curly braces. That's the main method. So it starts execution from the main method. Alright, so now I'm just going to run this particular code. This is a code that comes by default. I'm going to run it, and then you see what will be the output. So to run it, you can either just press F5, or you just go here and then you just click this button here, and then you can see something that says connecting to blah blah. Then you see hello world, then some kind of semicolon, and then 42. Now you see that whatever is in between this opening and closing brackets is what I said the entry point. Now inside it we have a code that says print into brackets hello world with a dot, and then we have another code that ends with $sign. You see, so this hello world with a semicolon is this part here, and then the 42 that you see printed here is this particular part. This is a kind of a function that generates random figures. Okay, I'm going to rerun the code again, and then you see what will happen. You see that we have 42. I'm going to run it again. Okay, anyway, so the 42 is being generated by this function. Okay, you don't have to actually understand what it means, but for now what you need to know is that the print, when I write print bracket open bracket close, whatever is in between the print brackets is what will be printed at the console. Whatever you see here is the console. Everything that is written in blue here is the output. So now I'm going to just print something. I'm going to say hello, my name is Mudassir, like this. And so in that programming, every time you write a line of code, you have to end it with the word this kind of semicolon. Okay, now I'm going to rerun the code again. Let's see what will happen. Now you can see hello world column 42, and then you can see hello, my name is Mudassir. Now you know that the hello, my name is Mudassir is the information I put in between the brackets, in between the print statement that I've written here. And the quotes that you see here is very important because it signifies the information that you want to be printed on the screen. So we have just learned something like that if you want to print something on the console, you just need to say print bracket bracket open bracket close. You have two quotes or single quotes, all works the same. Then you put whatever you want in between the brackets like this. So you may try this particular statement, and then or this particular example, and then you will see that the computer prints information on the console. Alright, so that is that. I want to now move to talk about variables. Okay, so I will delete this. If I delete everything in between these brackets and I run this code again, you will notice that nothing will be printed. Nothing will be here. Yes, because as I said, the main method, the bracket open bracket close, is the entry point, and whatever code is in between here is what will be executed. So if there's no code, then there's no output. Alright, so we are going to talk about variables, but before that I want to talk about comments. Let's say you want to type something, but that thing that you want to type in the editor here, you don't want the computer to read it. You don't want the computer to read it and then execute it. You will need to make it a comment. So to make a comment, you need to put 2 slashes like I have just done. Then I'll say maybe variables are explained below. Now you see variables are explained below. It is a comment, because there are two slashes before it. So if I run this particular script, the computer is not going to print this, it's not going to do anything because it has kept it knowing that it is a variable. Now if I remove the two slash in front of these statements, you can see that everything here is marked as red because the computer is thinking that this is a code, but then it doesn't understand what code I've written. So if I run it again, I'm going to get a whole lot of errors down here. Have you seen? Red. The computer is trying to say that, come on, I don't get what you are saying. This is not the code that I understand. Alright, so it is a comment. You put two slashes before it and then it is a comment. Alright, so now let's talk about a variable. In programming, variables are used to store information. If you want to store an information, you declare a variable. For example, if I say var, this var means what? Variable. Then when I say var, I have to give it a name. Maybe my name. Okay, so that's the name of the variable. Now what information do I want to store? I'll now say equals to. Okay, then for example, I want to store my name inside the variable called my name. So if I say equals to, I'm going to put two quotes and then I'll say what? Mudassir Isa. Then I'll put a semicolon at the end. Now what is happening here is that the computer will create a variable called my name and then it will store this piece of information inside it. Now wherever I'm going to type my name, it will bring this information. It knows that this is the information that is inside here. So now we learned what? We learned about print, which I said print statement is used to print something at the console here. So now I'm going to say print what? My name. This my name here is a variable. I'm going to put it here for the computer to print it. Now let's see what will happen. I run the code and you see that the computer has printed Mudassir Isa, which is the information that is here inside here. So because I put my name here, it knows that Mudassir Isa is what I'm supposed to print. Good. So that is it about variables. Simple about storing information. You know, this is you are following a path where you want to learn programming, and you cannot learn programming or you cannot build mobile applications without understanding how information is stored. Day in, day out, the applications that we use, we store information. Okay, we send information with people. So how is this information stored? It's stored with the use of what? Variables. So to create a variable is very simple. You can say var, then my name. My name is like an identifier. My name is what will identify the variable, so that anytime or anywhere in your code you can call it. Then after this equal to sign, after it you put whatever you want to store. If you want to store a collection of words like my like what I've written here, Mudassir Isa, make sure you put it in between what? These quotes. Make sure you put it in between these quotes, yes, and then you have your variable created. Good. Next, I'll be talking about data types. So after we talked about variables, we talk about data types. Now in computer programming, data is stored in, or data consists of what? Different types. Okay. Now, what are the types of data we have? I'm going to list them here. There are about 4 major ones, even though there are more than that, but I'll talk about a few here. We have string, we have int, we have bool, we have let me refer to our course outline. We have double, we have char. This is where we are. We're talking about data types. We have string, we have int, we have double, we have char, we have bool. Alright, so back. So int, bool, double, and char. Alright, so we are going to talk about each and every one of these. You know, these things you already know them, just that how it has been classified. We are going to start with an int. An int data type represents an integer. What is an integer? An integer is a whole number. For example, 1 is an integer, 2 is an integer, 3 is an integer, 450 is an integer, and you know it when you learn basic maths. So in computer programming, when you are dealing with integers, you have to store the integers you want to deal with in an integer variable. For example, if I want to store my age or your age or anybody's age, you have to, because your age is an integer, definitely your age is an integer. I cannot ask you how old are you and you say I am, if you say you are 2.5 years old, like literally or technically is literally, that's wrong. Okay, yes. So for example, we are going to store a variable called your age is equals to what, maybe 100. Now you notice that I'm storing a variable. I'm creating a variable to store a value, and that value is 100. The 100 here is supposed to represent what? Your age. So, but because it's an integer, I'll say what? Int. You get it? After I say int, then I'll put the name of that variable I'm creating. Then, as you know, after the equal sign, I put the what? The value. So now your age here is stored. 100 is stored inside what? Your age. Okay, yes. Creating variables is in two parts. This is the what? The left hand side, and this is the right hand side. The right hand side is the equals to is what differentiates it. The right hand side stores the value, and then the left hand side declares the variable, the its data type, and then its what? Identifier, or the name of it. Now if I proceed to say print, and then I say what? Your age, and then I end it with a semicolon. If I run this code now, look at what will happen. It's going to first of all print my name, because I said the computer reads starts from what? The main method here, the main, which is the entry point, and it reads what? Quotes. Variables are explained below. It won't read this line because it's a comment. It will come here and read, okay, var, my name, this. Okay, var means variable, my name is the name of the variable, equals to is the value, so this is the value. It will store it here. Now print here means what? Print something to the console. Now what is it going to print? Whatever is in between the brackets, which is my name. That's what? Mudassir Isa. So you can see Mudassir Isa has been printed first. Now we come down here, whatever is written here is a comment, so it is not going to read it. Then it will come here, int. Okay, it knows that, okay, I'm going to what? Create a variable by its what? Integer data type. So, and the name of it is what? Your age, equals to 100. So it means 100 should be stored inside what? That variable. So when it comes down here and reads print, it means it's supposed to print something. What is it going to print? Your age, and your age here is 100. That's why you see Mudassir Isa is printed here, and then 100 is also printed below here. It is basically reading the codes line by line from top here to down, which is starting from the what? The entry point here. Alright, so I've talked about integer data type. So simply for your notes, integer means what? A whole number. So if you are going to store a whole number in that, you have to what? Use an int. Alright, so we are going to the next one. Let me just put a comment here. That says what? Int variable below. Alright, so the next one is double. Let's talk about a double. So I'm going to create a comment, and I'm going to type maybe double variable below. So if you want to create a variable, what is a double? A double data type is what? A decimal data type. A data type that has what? Decimal. When I say decimal, what do I mean? I mean maybe 10.50, 10.20, or 0.1. Anything that has point is a what? A double. Anything that has point. So simply put, int double is opposite of int, because int is a whole number. Immediately a dot comes after the whole number, it becomes a double. So if I want to store a double, I'll say what? Double, like this. Okay, then I'll give it a name, maybe my fraction. This name can be anything. This is my fraction. It's just a name, an identifier. Then I'll say equals to what? 50.10. You see that? So it is this 50.10 is a what? A decimal figure, and that qualifies it to be a what? A double. That's why I create a double variable. Now if I say print my fraction like this, and I terminate it with my semicolon, and then I run the code, you can see that it will start reading again. It will print my name, which is this. It will come and print your age, which is this, and it will come and print what? My fraction again, which is this. Now watch something. If I turn your age here, if I turn this 100 to what? 100.10, you see that I get red. The computer is what? Is underlining something and saying what? A value of type double cannot be assigned to a variable of type what? Int. You get the point. So if I even run this code, it's still going to give me a lot of errors. It's simply telling me that my data types do not coincide. I am saying what? This is supposed to be an int, and the value I'm giving it is a double. So there's no way the computer is going to store 10.10 in your age, because your age is an integer. So if I want this error to go, I have to what? Make sure it's a whole number. Okay. Yeah, so that is double. Now let's go to the next one, which is bool. Okay, bool. Now bool data type. I'm just putting this comment so that you can have it for reference. To create a bool data type, you just have to say bool. Okay, first of all, what is a bool data type? A bool data type is that kind of data type that stores true or false. A bool stores only true or false. For example, you are playing a game, okay, then you win. When you win, it's either you win or you lose. If you win, that's true. If you don't win, that's false. So it's just two ways. So a bool simply stores what? True or false. So if I say bool and I say win, that's the name. It's equals to what? I can either say true, or I can either store what? False. Take note, you can only store true or false inside a bool. For example, if I say 50, I'm going to get an error because 50 does not represent true or false. I either say true as the value for the bool, or I say false as the value for the bool. Sometimes you can also say 1, but that is in other programming languages. 1 can mean true and 0 can mean false. But in that, you have to specify. You are either storing true or you are storing false. So the same thing, if I say print and then I put win here and then I run my code, you can see that true will be printed down here. So a bool stores only true or false. Take this, understand this critically. You need to understand data types if you want to create apps that can store information and provide a better user experience for users. You need to understand these data types, and they are not difficult. It's just the normal things that we know. Then after that, the next thing we'll talk about is a car. Car is what? Car represents what? A character. And you know what a character is? Okay, let me show you what a character is. But first of all, let me put a car comment here. Car variable. Now to write a car, you just say car, and then you say for example, you give it a name, my character is equals to a undefined class car. It seems that doesn't want to understand. Let me see something. Let me refer to something quickly. Alright, so car is a data type that is not included in the Dart library, so we will not talk about car. We will proceed to talk about a string. string variable. But in other programming languages like Java, you may meet a data type called char. Yes. So we are going to talk about string. So what is a string? A string variable is storing a collection of words. So if I want to store a collection of words, for example, my name, so I can say string my name is equals to. Now one thing you need to know, a string data type has to be in between what? Quotation marks. Two quotation marks. I will demonstrate that. This is what I mean by two quotation marks. Okay, so I see my name is giving me an error. It is probably because maybe my name has been declared on top here before. So I'll just change my name to maybe his name, like this. So his name here is a string, and I said a string, anything in between these two double quotes, depicts a string. So I can say print his name, and I'll save, and then I'll just run my code, and you are going to see something. Mudasir Isa is also printed at the end. So that is also what a string. So I think this ends us to our lesson about variables and how to declare variables. There's one variable I want to talk about, which is called dynamic. Dynamic means it's a kind of variable that it doesn't have a specific data type. So if I want to create a variable, and that variable can store an integer, it can store a double, and it can store a a string, a kind of a universal variable, then that variable will have a data type of what? Dynamic. And as the name tells you, dynamic means it's universal, it's not restricted to one side. It can be an integer today, and then at a point it can be a string. So how do you declare a dynamic variable? You just say what? Let me put a comment first. Dynamic. I'll say dynamic like this. Then I'll give it a name, maybe my dynamic variable. Then I can store something, maybe hi, I am a string, like this. Now you can see my dynamic variable here has stored a string, and I don't have any error. If I run it and I want to know, if I print my dynamic variable like this and I run it, it will print my hi, I am a string, normal for me. Now what if I change it to an integer, maybe 10.20, a bool, 10.20, and I still run it? It's going to print my 10.20 without an error. The reason I'm saying this, you remember when I tried to change this integer variable to 10 point something, I got an error. For example, if I say 10.10, you see it gave me an error because I have specified the data type to be int. I cannot store a double. But for the dynamic data type, which is this guy here, it doesn't care whatever value it has. It can store it. Anything is gonna store it. So that's all about dynamic. Okay, yes. So I think this will be the end of our tutorial about variables. In the next tutorial, based on our outline, I'll be talking about arithmetics, making addition, multiplication, division and stuff in code. Okay, after that we talk about some logical decisions. Alright, so thanks for your time. Goodbye.